What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the deliciously dank Dr. Disaster. And Star Wars apathy is now so strong that they are having to resort to shock TV moments similar to Game of Thrones in a sad attempt to remain relevant.
Where the hell is everybody?
Well, Star Wars fans are largely gone now, Disney. You've scared off the vast majority of Star Wars fans with your insistence on nonsense stories written by activist hacks who are more interested in insulting the fan base than they are entertaining the crowd. It's funny, though, to watch as one of the insults that Lucasfilm and their sycophants like to throw at us, saying that Star Wars is a movie about space wizards intended for children, so why do we care so much about it? Well, it's funny to watch this talking point turn to mush in the wake of this right here.
I sense a disturbance in the Force.
Yes, the latest episodes of the Star Wars show Andor have come out, and they included a scene where someone is attempting to force adult relations onto someone else. And I have to be very careful about the language that I use on this platform, obviously, because it's a pretty serious topic that shouldn't be thrown into a show all willy-nilly, especially not in a show about space wizards that's meant for kids, right? I mean, for cripe's sake, I'm old enough to remember the news from a few years ago when we learned that they wouldn't allow Andor to drop an F-bomb in the show because Disney was against it, but now they're okay with this kind of serious assault?
That doesn't make sense.
Actually, it only makes sense if you consider this, that Disney and Lucasfilm are truly desperate to get themselves in the headlines again. This past December, the Skeleton Crew came out, and by all accounts, it wasn't that bad of a show, but they couldn't get any traction, especially in the wake of the failure of The Acolyte. People just don't give a shit about this IP any longer, so now Disney is pivoting. They're going for shock content in the vein of Game of Thrones, trying desperately to force their way into people's mouths again, because they understand that apathy is the real killer of franchises like this. Hatred and anger are things that the likes of Lucasfilm can deal with, but when they make new content, what they definitely don't want to hear is this.
I don't give a rat's ass.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and also, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. The first part of the novel that I've written, a dark fantasy story called The Darkest Heritage, will be available to members only starting tomorrow. The book itself will be available to purchase on Amazon in the near future, but in the meantime, if you want to support alternatives to mainstream culture, such as Star Wars, where the owners of it were bound and determined to find a new audience, well, if you're tired of that nonsense, consider becoming a channel member and checking out the book when it drops. In any case, we have to see what the showrunner for Andor said about the show. We're going to read about it in this article from That Park Place. Now, in order to appease the YouTube guidelines, we have to use a code word to replace the term for the act that was depicted in Andor. A lot of people have been replacing that word with grape, but that still sounds a little too close to me. I'm going to call it slimy behavior as the code word. But anyhow, let's read about what was said in this article from That Park Place. The article says, Tony Gilroy is no stranger to dark storytelling, the creator and showrunner of Andor. Arguably, Disney Plus's most acclaimed Star Wars series has earned praise for injecting a gritty, mature sensibility into the galaxy far, far away, but with the release of Andor Season 2, Gilroy has now crossed a line into controversy that many fans believe should never have been breached. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Star Wars Theory here, who said on X, slimy behavior in Star Wars feels unnecessary. You can portray power dynamics and make the audience hate the Empire in other ways without taking it to such a disgusting place. Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit, nor does the Empire condone it. It has no place in Star Wars, period. Unnecessary. And yes, this is an IP that was very focused on steering away from sexuality. Famously, George Lucas used duct tape to minimize Carrie Fisher's chest in the first film in order to remove that sort of element from the story. It's just not the sort of thing that I'm comfortable with in the franchise, and a lot of people feel that way by the looks of social media right now. Anyhow, reading on, in a newly released interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Gilroy defended the most disturbing sequence in Andor to date, a scene in which an Imperial officer tries to force himself on rebel fugitive Bix Kayleen. The moment ends with Bix screaming the nature of what almost happened to her, removing all ambiguity. It left many viewers shocked, not just for its content, but for what it signaled about the franchise's tonal direction. And I maintain that the reason they're okay with this sort of thing now is simply just for the attention, which, admittedly, people like myself are giving them. But in my mind, this won't change the calculus for Star Wars. This will be a blip on the radar, and then it will disappear again. And trying more stuff like this in the future will have diminishing returns. But the article continues, let's be honest, man, the history of civilization, there's a huge arterial component of it that's slimy behavior, he said. All of us who are here, we are all the product of slimy behavior. I mean, armies and power throughout history have committed slimy behavior, so to not touch on it in some way, it just was organic and it felt right, coming about as a power trip for this guy. In loads of other franchises, I would say this is fine, but once again, in Star Wars, for cripe's sake, Disney Star Wars hasn't even really had romances at all in their stories. The closest thing that they had to a romance in the sequel trilogy was the weird Reylo shit. The Mandalorian tale doesn't, to my recollection, have anything resembling romance. The Book of Boba didn't either. Star Wars has been fairly devoid of anything romantic at all since Anakin and Padme in the prequels. There have probably been a few things that are escaping my memory at the moment, but not much, let's just put it that way. And now, to add something like this, which obviously isn't romantic, but it is sexualizing characters, it just feels very off. But reading on, he went on to say that the story arc was meant to build a path back to clarity for Bix, and that Disney never pushed back on the content. No one ever said anything about it ever, he told The Hollywood Reporter. But we have limits on what we can do. We are very aware of what we can do. The quote, particularly Gilroy's sweeping claim that we are all the product of such heinous acts, has sparked immediate backlash. And look, I'm not going to call the show out and try to have it boycotted or anything like that. I watched Game of Thrones just like everyone else, and I had no problem with that show. If someone wants to watch this show, then go for it. I just want to point out that the same people defending this change are the ones who told us it was a movie for kids. Now they're pivoting and saying it is a series for everyone. Obviously, there's just no consistency in what they're saying. They simply want to protect Disney and Star Wars at all costs. And this just reeks to me, by the way, of desperation from Disney. They want to remain relevant, but sadly for them, that just isn't the case. Star Wars is and will remain dead for most of us. But I'm gonna leave it there. Are you watching Andor? If not, then why not? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.